everyone. We're going to start in just 2 minutes. My name is Loretta Thompson. I'm the actually, my title is changed. I'm the Partnerships and Community Engagement Manager for the U.S. campus of 4Geeks Academy. And I'm going to be your hostess, MC, Master of Mistress of Ceremonies for tonight's proceedings.
Loretta, you're muted.
See? Hi. Thanks so much, Alyssa. Hi, I'm Loretta again. I am the Partnerships and Community Engagement Manager for 4Geeks. I'm going to put my LinkedIn in the chat. So I'll be the one who's hosting tonight. And I'm so excited that we're going to be seeing the projects for cohorts 46 and 47. Before that, we're going to have presentations from two different speakers. But first, I'm going to tell all of our guests a bit about 4Geeks. So I'm just going to share my screen right now. Okay, so 4Geeks. Let's see. Okay, so we have. Let me skip. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, you guys. Give me 1 second. Don't worry. Since I'll be the one with the technical issues, I will get all of the jinxes out, so none of you will. Okay, here we go. Okay, great. All right, so 4Geeks, this slide we will update, but 4Geeks basically, we are a coding boot camp. We have over 10 locations in actually 10 different countries. Right now we have well over 2,000, it's actually close to 3,000 graduates. 95% of our 4Geeks graduates find a job during 90 days after graduation. We have partnerships with established with major industry players, and we are one of the top coding boot camps in the world. And for validation of that, we are named the best coding boot camp in 2022 by Premios Excelsior Educativa, and among the top 30 worldwide boot camps by SwitchUp. We have an average of 4.9 average reviews on all platforms, and we are licensed by the U.S. Department of Education. Okay, so our track record results. We want to reduce the unemployment rate, provide accessibility, and increase the amount of digital talent available. So basically folks that are unemployed, underemployed. We want those people who are bartenders, working at Publix, unemployed. We want to help increase their salary And we do have an average 22% average percentage salary increase after completing the program. 86% is the average percentage of students that get hired after completing the cohort. And it takes about 90 days on average for students to find a job. We're able to help with that we have two amazing tools in our tool belt for that. One of them is GeekTalk. That gives you unlimited access to us forever. You get lifetime mentorship with community senior developers, and it's about supporting you through your coding journey and continuing your career as a developer. And so that means that even though you are no longer with us, you're able to get support, on your projects, whether you're at work, if you're stuck on something, you can get mentorship support, either messaging via Slack. We do have one-on-one mentor sessions scheduled that you can schedule as well. And we have global mentorship sessions as well. Also, we have Geek Force, which helps you land your first job in tech. So this is lifetime support for students in their career search through our career support track. We have Valentina Encieta, who gives career support. This is her job 24/7. She has one-on-one meetings, workshops to help you build your professional portfolio. We have interview prep, assistance with resume writing, and help with your LinkedIn profile prep. And Geek Force their goal is to get your career to the next level by supporting you through your career journey. So not only with your first job in tech, but as you continue on as well. So as long as you also have to make sure that you're doing the work as well. So you want to make sure that you keep up with your appointments and your meetings, and you will land that job. Okay, and we have over 400 communities that hire our students. The major ones that a lot of you might know as household names we have here at the top, such as National Geographic, Microsoft, Facebook, Uber, eBay. And then we also have other that may not be as well known, but still provide those opportunities. We also have partners either in the educational sphere, community, financial, and such as Miami-Dade College, Startup, Junction. Those are listed here. And so our guest speakers tonight, I'm very excited to introduce. We have both Robert Dean from FlexSpace and Chris Daniels of the Shrimp Society. But we are going to start off our evening with Robert Dean. Both speakers are individually going to speak for about 10 minutes or so, and then we will have a Q&A after each speaker. So if you could please make sure that you hold off your questions until we get to the Q&A portion, and also make sure that you are muting yourself and while they're speaking. Okay, so Robert Dean, are you ready?
Sure.
Okay, great. So I'm going to stop sharing now. Okay, take it away.
Cool. Everybody can hear me, see me, all those fun. Oh, wait, it says I'm muted. Am I muted?
Oh, we hear you loud and clear.
Yep, loud
cool.
and clear.
All right, then I'm going to ignore what it says. Cool. So I am Robert Dean. I am located in Atlanta, Georgia, so a little bit north of Miami. I'm CTO of FlexSpace Technologies. FlexSpace is a fintech that is getting ready to, well, actually, we just closed our Series A, but we haven't really announced it. So in the fintech space, you could think of other competitors of ours would be like Brex, Ramp. Oh, man. These are all like people that I know because I deal with it on a daily basis, but I'm trying to think of companies that you guys might know since I know you don't really deal with it. I don't really know any off the top of my head, but some of my background, I was at Cabbage, which was another big fintech. They were acquired by American Express back in 2020. Before that, I've done various things. I've been in video games. I've done embedded software development, website development, you name it, I've probably done it. So that's pretty much a quick and dirty background of me. I came through the normal or I guess what you would consider a standard college degree path. So boot camping is kind of a new thing. It wasn't even around when I came through college. So I'm old. Sorry. So I don't really know what you guys studied, but I'm more than happy to talk about anything that you guys did around coding and how we can get to the next stage and stuff like that. But what I will say is, even after your boot camp, like it never stops with the learning. Like you have to always strive to be on top of what the latest and greatest is. For example, when I came in, it was C and C++. Java had not really even taken off at that point. Like it was around and stuff like that. I think Python had just come out. C Sharp wasn't around. JavaScript was nothing like it is today. Like Node and React, none of that existed. Like JavaScript, jQuery didn't even exist, if you know what that is. So it's very, very manual. And as you know, we've progressed through the years, all these new technologies have come out. And so me personally, I've had to constantly relearn stuff and take all the new things and throw out the old things and just it's always a refresh. So if you take nothing else away from my speech, it is learning because that will ultimately help you in the long run. I don't have a timer, so I really don't know where my time is at. So just tell me when you want me to stop. Um, Beyond that, in the web space, some of the things that we work on, we do a lot of React in the front end. We do Node in the back end. We've got some Express stuff. I'm actually doing some Koa stuff right now. We don't do a lot of like Next or any of those SSR things. We have a little bit of Python with some machine learning coming up, SQL database stuff. We do GitHub. We're doing infrastructure as code. If you haven't heard that, you may have heard terms like Terraform or Pulumi. And those are basically programming languages, if you will, that allow you to define your infrastructure as code. So when you deploy your website out to like Amazon or Google or Azure or whatever, you can actually program how it should be provisioned into the cloud. And so those are kind of some of the technologies we use. Um, I don't know. Since we're holding on questions, I'll just pause there because I'm sure there are a ton of questions, and for me, I think that would be more valuable to you guys is you asking me questions, and I will give you all the answers I possibly can. So with
Okay,
that, I will turn it back over to you.
okay, that's not a problem, and I'll actually start off. Since our students are trained as full stack developers, so they started with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Python, React, backend, working with APIs, and you'll see that with the projects that will be presented today. So I guess the question is, if I put myself in their shoes, coming for that type of background where you do have some front end and back end, but not necessarily there is React, yes, React and Python, but some of the other languages that you were talking, and we all are on GitHub, so that's not a problem. A lot of us have the Christmas trees with our track record. But coming from that, what would you say is the best advice if somebody wanted to apply with your organization? What would they need to do to prepare themselves?
The best way to get prepared is to build a portfolio. And I would go beyond the simple portfolio that you will probably see with most people coming out of a boot camp where they'll do a Twitter clone or a to-do app or kind of a basic website that demonstrates, the HTML, CSS competencies. And I would actually go a little bit more in depth and try to find something that is more complex and build a clone of it. And what that is really doesn't matter because what we're going to look for is we're going to go into your GitHub profile. We're just going to see like where is your actual skill level as far as do you understand these more advanced concepts of how do I actually call a backend API, right? So it can be more than just, putting together an HTTP client and stuff like that. Do you understand things like security, tokenization, so like OAuth, for example, or do you understand, more nuances around like what a post versus a get versus a patch and a put are? So those are HTTP verbs. So again, kind of going back to the original question, really try to build a website and an API that is more than just what you would find if you went out and said, hey, how do I learn XYZ, right? And they're going to give you like, oh, here's a quick to-do app, right? You got to go further than that. And that's really going to demonstrate to potential employers that like, not only do you know what you're doing, but you're dedicated to your craft.
Got it. So I guess this is just building on that question. I know that a lot of students, there comes a point where everyone fears the dreaded imposter syndrome, right? Like my project is not good enough. My project is not complex enough. Like, I'm going to wait, and that waiting drags into days, weeks, months, and that defeats the purpose of us, attending the boot camp and going forward. So how, we want to get ourselves out into the job market, right? We want to get out there, but we feel like we're not quite ready. So what do you think we should do to prepare ourselves for that? Besides what you're saying, which I understand, we're going to try to build a more complex project, but is there any other tips that you would suggest for that?
I mean, I deal with imposter syndrome myself, and I can tell you that many people on my team also. So it is not something that you really ever get rid of. I mean, I've been coding for 20 some odd years at this point. I would probably be considered very advanced by many people, but that doesn't mean anything to me, right? Because I'm always like, oh, did I do this right? Let me go research it. Let me go get feedback. And so really like to prepare yourselves and kind of get past that, it just kind of comes back with the train yourself, right? The more you know, the less likely it is that you will be an imposter because you just know the answers, you know it. And I know that that doesn't really help you, but like that's how you get past it is you just have the knowledge and the experience. And if you're trying to go out and get a job and let's just say everyone is doing these layoffs now and the market just looks terrible and you're like scared that no one's going to hire, there are other ways to do things than like go try to get a job at Microsoft or Uber or Facebook or any of those. There are plenty of other companies out there that are looking for developers to come in that'll pay really, really well that you probably never even heard of, that I've never even heard of. And so you just kind of have to look for it and dig. But you can also do side jobs, like gig jobs, like go out and be like, look at the advertisements for people that are wanting a web page. Like just charge them like, hey, I'll build your web page for $500 or whatever your going rate is, right? You set your rate and go build it because now what you're doing is you're also getting experience. You're building a more of a portfolio and you're giving examples. So when those employers come to look, you can be like, look, I built this site for this person. I built this site for this person. Again, it all comes back into trying to get that experience so that the imposter syndrome doesn't go away, but it's lessened.
Got it. And I do have a couple of comments in the chat. Someone said, don't think you are, know you are. And then also the question, Fiverr, maybe Fiverr would be an option to put your skills out there. And for everybody that's out there, if you have a question, don't be afraid to jump in. You can either make the comment on the chat. I definitely, even though I'm hosting, I am not the one who needs to dominate the questions. If you want to ask a question, go for it. Does anyone have any questions at this point?
Sure. I'll have a question. Coming from us, being beginners, I mean, we have a pretty nice base understanding coming out of the boot camp. Is there a certain language or something that in our shoes would possibly start focusing on that maybe is going to be something good that we should start gaining knowledge on and put our time that we're going to have, educating ourselves more in?
Ooh, it that's a depends question. Um, and why I say it depends, it depends on where you want to go with your career. If you want to go into website development, I would recommend learning JavaScript and TypeScript, specifically TypeScript. If and then once you know that, like you can learn the frameworks, which are React or Angular or Svelte or any of the others. Um, if you want to go into machine learning, I would start learning Python. You're definitely going to have to learn SQL, so all the database stuff. If you want to go into embedded systems, then you probably need to learn C or C++. Um, and so again, it just kind of comes back to it depends, but I would say in what I suspect most of you guys will ultimately head out to do, I would say probably JavaScript and TypeScript would be a good one right now. And then beyond that, it's really whatever you are interested in. Um, I personally started with C way back in the day. It was very, very tough. I was in middle school. I had to go to the library and pull out books. So you guys are way, way, way beyond where I started at. So you have an internet, like it'll be much easier for you.
Yeah, we
Uh,
have another question. Oh, I'm sorry. We have another question in the chat that said, what do I need to do if I want to get into the gaming industry? I'm not sure if that would be specific to you or if you have any thoughts on that.
Um,
yeah,
I
yeah.
would,
Sorry, that was actually a similar question I had. Let's see if you had any similar um experience with maybe C sharp. I know you said you had experience with C plus plus. Are those the only programming languages that you would use for the gaming industry? And if so, what type of literature would you recommend?
oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to say something that is probably not going to be well taken by those of you that asked this question. My advice is do not go into the video game industry. Reason behind that is it is a grind. And a grind means you're going to work killer hours for good pay, but you can have better pay, better hours somewhere else. The reason that video games are so attractive is you think, hey, I'm going to go in and I'm going to build the next God of War, Call of Duty, whatever game it is that you want. It's just not true. That's just not how it works. So there's a lot of, I guess, people are just enamored with this, but when you get in there, like you realize it's not as awesome as it is. However, if you want to go into it, I would highly recommend C and C++. Most games, those that I just mentioned, that's what they're written in. You are not, or they're going to be written in a scripting language like Unreal Script, or if you're using Unity, which is C sharp, those are going to be some of the others. But at the end of the day, I would highly recommend learning C and C++. C sharp if you're going to stick in the Unity framework. I think Unreal's actually doing some C sharp stuff now too. But those would be the three kind of languages with C and C++ being the core.
Okay. Yeah, because I know that Unreal Engine is strictly C++, and then their own Unreal kind of UI.
Yeah, so Unreal is a beast of a tool, and honestly, if you're really, really interested in games, I would start at a different level where pick some easy game like Bricks. If anyone remembers that game from a long, long time ago, basically you have a line of these bricks, and there's a whole section of bricks, and then at the bottom there's a paddle that goes back and forth, and a ball bounces, and every time it hits a brick, it breaks it, it bounces back, hits the paddle, reflects back up. If that's a really, really simple game with a lot of complex interactions. I would start there. You can build that in anything. You can build it in TypeScript. You can build it in Lua. You can build it in whatever language you want and framework you want. But the idea is that you get this concept and start to learn. Yeah, Pygame, exactly. There's a ton of JavaScript ones as well. But you learn kind of the game loop and physics and collision detection and all these things like that. That's where I would start. I would not start with Unreal because you're going to get in there and you're going to get overwhelmed. I guarantee it. Same with Unity, same with most of those frameworks. If you don't understand the basics, it's just going to be underwhelming. And going back to the other question, there was an ask about literature, I believe. The literature that I would pick up when you want to look at C and C++ is actually not C and C++. It would be stuff around data structure. Any book around data structures and algorithms, that's what I would look at. And again, it doesn't matter about the language. That's going to be more important than learning like the intricacies of C and C++.
All right, awesome, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yep.
I have a question.
Okay. Yeah, I think we have time for one more. This question and then
Yep.
one more.
So stepping back from coding for just a second, you at your level, if you think about your staff and over all the people that you've ever had, like over the years, if you had a magic wand and could just wave it at all of your staff, what would be the one soft skill that you would want all of your new techs to have?
Give me a moment. I got to think about that one. It's probably going to be communication. And really, communication kind of it envelops a lot of different things. So one thing that I kind of look out for is don't be an asshole, right? Don't be a dick. And sorry for the strong language, but those type of people, no one wants to work with. So if that's your personality, that's a communication issue that you got to figure out how to communicate so that you don't come across like that. And then, yeah, you got to work on yourself. But that's really what I've run into. Like, you run into people, and honestly, when you talk about management, the hardest thing about management is people. That's all there is to it. Is because everyone has emotions and it's difficult. So if you can communicate and do all that better, that's going to get you ahead.
I appreciate that answer. Thank you.
So before we get to our last question, Robert Dean, if our students wanted to ask you questions maybe that, of course, aren't covered here, what is the best way to reach you? Is there a way to put that in the chat?
Yeah. Yep. See me there.
Okay, okay, so that's Robert at flexbase.app. Okay,
Yep.
Perfect. And time for one last question.
And it could be anything. I am an open book. You can't offend me. You can't make me mad. Like I said, communication, had to learn all this stuff. So feel free to ask whatever you want.
When you're like going to hire somebody, Prince, can you maybe give us a quick, thing you're looking for in maybe an interview, how possibly an interview process would work and the questions you would ask?
Again, it's going to vary based on the company. I've done interviews where we've had people come, this was before the pandemic, but we would have people come into the office and they could be, half a day long interviews where they go through multiple interview steps. I personally hate doing that myself. I don't like doing it now as an interviewer. I've done stuff where it's very, very simple. Like you come in and you talk to just a panel and like we will do a simple coding test and things like that. Man, it really varies on the interviewer. Sometimes you'll still run into the brain teasers. If you run into a brain teaser question, my advice is look somewhere else because you probably don't want to work there. Most of those questions are either there to be a gotcha or, hey, the interviewer is smarter than the interviewee because they can't figure out this brain teaser. Stupid questions. We had one at Cabbage. It was, how do you calculate the radius of clock hands? Okay, so think about a clock and the hands are like that. So compute the radius between the two hands. You know what? Never in my entire career have I had to do that. And the moment I heard that question, I threw it out the next time. I told the interviewer we will never ask that question again because it's irrelevant. So if you hear those type of questions, you might want to strongly think about if that's the place you want to work. Microsoft used to do that heavily. Like when I did my internship at Microsoft, I went through that. I studied because all those brain teasers, they're all out there. You just memorize them. And that's what I did. I memorized it. So yeah, they're worthless questions. So I don't know if that really helped answer your actual question about how to interview, but me personally, I just kind of wing it anymore. I've been doing it for long enough. It's a very gut feeling for me. But that's just me.
Well, that was very insightful. And I do have one last question, actually, last question. Does FlexSpace offer internships that would be available that our students might be able to apply for?
At the moment, we do not because we just closed our Series A. We are literally just kind of getting going. This time next year, it'll be an entirely different situation, and we will absolutely be doing internships.
Well, that is fantastic to hear. Well, I hope that we'll have you back again and see where you are with FlexSpace and what the status is. I know that a lot of our graduates by that time might be beyond internship status, but I hope that we'll be able to continue the communication with you and our students with you as well. So thank you so much for sharing. That was great.
Yeah, anytime.
All right, but feel free to stick around because, if you're available, that's great. If not, we totally understand.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to stick around for a little bit.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much. All right, you guys. So next up, with I guess our second but not last, our speaker Chris Daniels from the Shrimp Society. Are you ready, Chris?
Yep, I'm ready. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, loud and clear. All right, take it away.
Awesome. How's everybody doing? My name is Chris Daniels. I'm the CEO and founder of the Shrimp Society. We're a community and accelerator for early stage entrepreneurs in Miami. I want to just first say congratulations. I know what you just went through is extremely tough. I've had some friends that have gone through 4Geeks or other programs, and they are they're in it, and it's tough. And you should be really proud that you now have a skill that people want. And I wanted to talk about, kind of the other side of, I guess, the aisle, which is the area that I work in, which is with entrepreneurs, early stage entrepreneurs. And the number one question that I get every single day at office hours or after panels is, I'm an early stage entrepreneur. I have 2 co-founders, and I'm looking for our first developers. Where do I find them? How do I find someone who is willing to get involved, who has enough experience to get things done, but also is willing to learn and build a plane while it's falling out of the sky? And you all have that amazing skill that people are looking for. So congratulations. I have kind of 3 things that I've seen from the other side that I think might be able to help you start out on this new career path. Number one, and probably the most important, is to find a community of other innovators like yourself. You're starting off on this new path. You're going to have a lot of questions. You're going to have prototypes and hackathons and all this different stuff, and it's really hard to go it alone. But if you have a group chat with 3 friends, if you have a community, if you have a Geek Pal, if you have something that you can use to leverage other shared learnings, it will really accelerate your own learnings, your network, your exposure, and really what inbound opportunities could look like in getting your brand out there. So I really encourage you to take advantage of those resources. I know a lot of times you might be thinking, oh, there's a Slack group, there's office hours, I'm never going to use that, or I'm only going to use that if I really have to. But it's one of those things that you get out of it what you put in. And I've been in community building my whole career really, and the people that show up and contribute to communities, opportunities flow their way like crazy. So really encourage you to do that. The other thing I wanted to mention was you're now the CEO of yourself. You have this new skill. You can work anywhere. You can work on side projects. You can post work on Fiverr, like Robert was talking about. And building that portfolio is key, because what most entrepreneurs are looking for is to see what you've done. They don't want to hear you talk about, I know this, I know that. They want to see what you've done, and if you can show someone instead of tell someone, it's so much more powerful. So that could be GitHub projects. That could be a personal website with all your portfolio projects there. That's beautiful and that you've built yourself to show what you can do. It could be content, just posting all over the place. I think a good strategy as you're starting out with a new skill is something kind of called like learning in public. Start a Twitter, start an Instagram, start whatever it is, start a blog, and just learn in public. As you learn, go down the nasty road of Unity, like Robert was talking about. You know, if you go down that road, like post what you're learning, because there will be someone who is thinking about joining 4Geeks, who's a couple steps behind you, who's going to consume that, and you're going to help them out. And at the same time, it helps you formulate your thoughts and formulate your learnings, and it also holds you accountable. So that's a great thing that you can do. And if you really think of yourself as, like I mentioned, the CEO of you as this independent contractor, and maybe for a couple of years you're going to work at Microsoft, a couple of years you're going to work at a startup, and a couple of years you're going to freelance. It's really about building that brand of yourself, and that's what separates people. At least when I've hired developers and engineers, it's someone who uh, has done things and has shown that they produced results and have produced things versus just said I can do that. I think one of the best ways to do this, especially, and again, I'm coming from the early stage entrepreneur site, and that's kind of where my whole career has been. I think hackathons are an amazing opportunity that force you to ship products. They force you to find a community. They force you to iterate quickly and launch products. It forces you to ideate, and there's a million of them. They're going on all the time. There's a ton locally. There's a ton, virtually. There's every single topic you could imagine, from blockchain, AI, everything. I think most of them are free. And some of my friends that have excelled the most out of code academies, they've just done hackathon after hackathon, and it's like every single time the opportunities just roll in, and they walk out of there with 20 new amazing innovators, as well as job opportunities, and people are trying to hire them on the spot and all these things. So I really encourage you to do that. There's no barrier to entry. You can just show up and find people and work on things, and it's a good forcing function to progress you. So, kind of the last thing I wanted to touch on is with the Shrimp Society in the city of Miami, we put together a program called the Built in Miami Startup Program, and we are doing a 0 to 1 incubator. And right now we have 115 entrepreneurs that are going from idea to prototype in these next 6 weeks. We just kicked it off. And then after those 6 weeks, around mid-June, we're going into what we call Builder Summer. And this is an open hackathon program that's open to anyone to join. And the whole purpose is to take these entrepreneurs that have 115 prototypes and bring amazing, hungry developers to the table to work on these projects, to iterate on them, to see what it's like to work with a founder, see what it's like to work at a really early stage startup. That's a 5-week program. We have co-founder matchmaking. We have talent matching. So if a developer says, hey, I really need someone who can code XYZ, then you'll say I can do this, and you guys can go work on this project. And it'll give you a really good taste of what it's like to work in early stage startups and see if that's something you're interested in. Maybe you and the founder develop a relationship, you come on as a co-founder, and you're off to the races, or maybe you just build a good relationship and a year later, like Robert they raise a Series A or a seed round, and then you're the first, person on the top of their list. So I really encourage you to check that out. It's called the Built in Miami Startup Program. I'll post a link. The applications for that will open in 2 weeks, and we're going to make sure that gets its way to all of you through 4Geeks. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions. To just kind of summarize, really encourage you again to join a community of innovators, whether it's a group chat, whether it's a 5,000 person Slack channel. Join and put in effort into that, and then be the CEO of yourself, and then go to hackathons, please. It's amazing. It's like I've seen people's life change through it, and it's free. They're great opportunities, and there's no barriers. So again, congratulations, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. That sounds like a whole amazing set of opportunities that are right in our backyard. I'm so glad that you're speaking with us.
Yes, happy to be here. I really, I have a ton of friends that went through 4Geek, and we love the community of 4Geek, and that y'all were the first people we called when we were thinking about this program. So we want to see as many of you there showing up. It's in person. There's co-working space available. There's, like I said, 115 entrepreneurs that are literally looking for you all. So it's a great opportunity to see what it's all about and jump into the startup space.
Awesome. Does anyone have any questions?
Sure. So, like, going to these events, I mean, they know coming out. I mean, I guess maybe this is that imposter syndrome everybody's talking about. I'm not, definitely ready to jump into a role, but like apprenticeships or internships, like events like that. I know Miami is. I'm in South Florida, by the way, and I know the tech events. There are a lot of them there. Is there any event that might come to mind for somebody who is possibly looking for that field? Like, as I'm continuing my education, to be able to get in somewhere and also do the work, so I'm seeing it more and more.
Yeah, I think the best opportunity, this is maybe a controversial take, but going to mindless, no point happy hours can be a waste of your time. And there's a million of those in Miami, and whatever city you're in, there's a million. Come meet up and have drinks, and you got to be smart with your time. You're the CEO of you, right? So time is money, and you have a lot of opportunities to pursue. So I've seen the most value at hackathons. That's why I'm such a big advocate for it. We have Miami Hack Week in South Florida. We have Shell Hacks. We have the Web3 Build-a-thon. Those are some of the bigger ones that have hundreds of developers and software engineers that join those. I've personally been a part of Miami Hack Week a couple times and seen, people get acquired and people have life-changing job offers. Teams go on to raise seed funding, and that's just a week of meeting people and working on fun products. So I think in your shoes, I would focus on those. It's also good to build your network and go out and meet random people. That's also important. But if, like I said, you have this skill that people want and you have a way to showcase it, I think that's a great kind of time trade-off and energy trade-off.
I have two questions. The first one is from the entrepreneurs that you're working with now, without going into any details at all, could you give us an idea of what sort of things people are wanting to create? And my second question is, as far as that that magic spark of what you see when you meet with an entrepreneur, where can you tell what project is like serious and will actually launch, and can you tell that something is just a drunken idea that's not going to go anywhere? Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Let me answer the second one first. In my experience, it's definitely been velocity. The velocity that an entrepreneur and a founding team has shows you almost everything you need to know, because they're shipping product twice a day, like pushing to production twice a day. They're getting more customer interviews. They're getting more customers. They're pushing revenue models. they're iterating, and they have a tighter feedback loop that's going daily. And they're counting the days is something I know Keith Boy talks about that a lot with his startups, but uh, founding entrepreneurs and founding teams that have a really high velocity create unbelievable momentum, like exponentially more than people that are tinkering. And there's a time to tinker, there's a time to work on things slowly and do a side hustle. But when you're ready to go all in, um, the entrepreneurs that do that, they excel, and that velocity and that momentum is huge to funding, it's huge to recruiting, it's huge to getting customers. So when I see an entrepreneur group or a co-founding group that's just cranking, and you talk to them, you're like, oh, I think this website would look better if it was blue, and then in 2 hours it's blue, and they say, do you like it now? Or they say, I think this button would be better over here, or I think you should charge more, and then they send you an email and they say, okay, it's done, what next? That is really impressive, one, for investors, for recruiting, for other customers, things like that. And you're just iterating so much faster, which is the name of the game in that early stage. So that's something I definitely recommend. And an example of that is CrossMint. They were a company that came out of Miami Hack Week, and those guys, we worked with them a little bit for an NFT project that we did, and within a week they shipped like 10 new features, and then the next week they redid all of them and they were better, and then they raised, I think, a $15 million Series A like 6 months later. It was crazy. So definitely that. And could you just restate the first question, just because I was fired up on that second one, passionate about it?
Yes, yes. And thank you. The answer, it really resonated with me. The first question was, without going into any details, what are the types of projects that your entrepreneurs are kind of working with, to give us an idea of what's out there? Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say for this specific program, the 0 to 1 Startup Sprint, which is kind of the incubator period that we just started, we're really pushing them towards building web apps that convey the core value loop. So I would say web apps or mobile apps, even so more web apps. We're just pushing people to go faster and not worry about the app store and not worry about all of that, and just send someone a link and get that core value loop through with a customer or prospective customer. So people that can do that, and in my experience, most of the things they're not technologically challenging or impossible. It's more so putting the pieces together in the right way and making it work, and removing as many steps in that customer journey as possible. So thinking through, how do we get someone from A to B to C as fast as possible and as efficiently as possible, is huge. And yeah, web apps can convey that. I think also at the early stage, it gives you a lot of flexibility where you can ship faster and you can iterate faster. You don't have complex applications and all this different stuff. So in my experience, in the early stage, shipping really fast, sometimes, not even with an organized, you know, product process is some of the best stuff. I'm sure that's not what 4Geeks teaches you, but the ability to go fast and iterate based on customer feedback is huge, and that's normally in the web apps. In terms of like industries, we're seeing definitely some AI stuff, and most of that is just APIs to ChatGPT and that whole suite, or other products that are, some type of web application built on top of that. There's a lot of marketplaces as well. So if that's something that you wanted to understand how that works from a technological standpoint, marketplaces are pretty popular, whether it's a marketplace for shoes or a marketplace for whatever. Those are popular. I think we definitely have some kind of harder technology problems, but most of those lie outside of the software and get more into like hardware or developing proprietary models. A lot of companies are looking at, okay, we're going to do XYZ to get all this data, and then we're going to interpret all of this data. So if you want to spend some time around data science and data analytics and how that fits into products and understanding how you present customers the solution they want given the data that they're giving you. That's definitely a big thing we're seeing and trend. But yeah, I think those three kind of sum it up.
Okay, we have a question in the chat. Oh, maybe that was more toward Robert Dean. But I guess I could ask you this as well, since Chris, you were mentioning about showing and not telling, about building a portfolio for potential, founders to take a look at. If the gaming industry is no go, what industries would be good to work towards or build a portfolio on? I guess what have you seen in your experience? I guess just to kind of frame the question, tailor it to this. What type of projects do you see your founders kind of, leaning more toward that kind of piques their interest to say, aha, that is the person I would like to work with on my team or have on my team to develop my business?
Yeah, I think if you can do something in the industry, it's kind of a no-brainer. So let's say you really like a fitness company, you want to go work for Nike or something like that, or no, that's not a good example, Peloton, or some kind of fitness technology company. If you build some type of fitness app that takes in Strava data and gives you a personalized workout, now we're talking the same language of kind of that suite or those feature sets or that value proposition. So I think that's a no-brainer for founders when they see someone and they're like, okay, I'm in clean tech and this is a clean tech startup, and then you did some project that was we're getting data from IoT devices that are on buoys out in the ocean or something like that. It's like, oh yeah, this person knows what we're talking about. We're in the same industry. So that's one that I see as a no-brainer. I think the other thing is if you can, this is maybe a more risky bet in a way, but if there's a job you really want, especially if it's a startup, I don't think this would work for the bigger companies, but if there's a startup and they say we want to build IoT devices for buoys that give XYZ data, if you come back to that person in a week, to that founder, and you give them a ugly web app that kind of does a little bit of the thing, they're going to hire you. If you can just show that, oh, you said you needed this, I built it without, off one conversation. And obviously that takes time, but it really shows a different level of commitment. And that's what entrepreneurs are looking for. They're looking for someone who can figure things out because they're not, they're not technical, a lot of them, and they're not going to know the answers, and they want a go-getter that's going to say, okay, let's build it today. And I think the more you can do that, it doesn't have to be a product, it could be a prototype. You just shoot them an email in 2 days and say, hey, by the way, I just prototyped out that app you were talking about. I think actually if we did this way or we use this technology, it'd be a lot better. I know you wanted to go this way, but based on my experience, I think this would be a better, faster, cheaper route for us. That'll blow them away, and it'll separate you from 99% of the candidates.
I think that's very encouraging to most of our folks that are in this session tonight, because I think that a lot of us think that our projects have to be absolutely perfect in order to be seen by potential employers. So knowing that basically it's about having something that is the start of something that they can see the vision of, that's very encouraging for us. Before we ask our last question, if one of us or some of our folks here wanted to find out more about the programs that you have or to reach out to you for more questions, how would they reach you? Is there a way to put that in the chat?
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to drop it's builtmiami.com. That's our overarching program. And the Builder Summer applications will be live there in about 2 weeks, and we'll make sure they get through 4Geeks as well. The shrimpsociety.com is our organization. We're a community of entrepreneurially spirited people and an accelerator in Miami. We would love to just come hang out with us. We do hack nights every Tuesday night at Office Logic downtown from 6 to 9. We get a bunch of developers in there, play lo-fi beats. We have food, we have drinks. It's a good time. It's kind of that nights and weekends type of atmosphere to work on your side projects. And then let me drop my email as well. It's just chris@theshrimpsociety.com. Feel free to email me with any questions. We also have a job board as well at theshrimpsociety.com. You'll see it at the top. we have a job board that's all local South Florida tech and startup companies that are posting job opportunities there. I see web developer up there all the time. I see all sorts of engineering roles. Like I said, people want the skill you have, they want you, and they want someone who's hungry and wants to learn versus someone who is going to think they know it all and fight every step of the way. I think you guys are in a great place to know what you don't know and then go figure it out.
Well, we do have a question in the chat. It says, big companies will want someone who can be a team player and collaborate with UX, UI designers, stakeholders, etc. How can we prove we are team players? Or what question are on interviews about this specifically?
Yeah, great question. I'm going to sound like a broken record, I know, but hackathons. You're going to have to work with 4 random strangers that you don't know. You're going to need a UX person. You're going to need a product marketer. You're going to need a front end person, a back end person. And it'll also teach you how to sell yourself and be the CEO of yourself and walk up to a random group of strangers and say, hey, I'm Josh, and I have these 3 skills, and I'm really excited about this industry, and I would love to work with you guys. Do you think that makes sense? I kind of like this industry, but I'm flexible, and it'll help you develop those soft skills. And then when you work on a project for a week or a weekend, you'll be able to then show in an interview, oh, I built this with 4 random strangers, and here's how we did it. We're still in great contact today. We actually just did another hackathon with one of the persons on the team. So I think that's a great way. I'm trying to think outside of that. And yeah, I think that might be the best way, because the proof's in the pudding, right? If you can ship a product and win a hackathon or place, or just get something across the line with a bunch of people with different skills, it'll show that you're a team player. Questions for an interview about this specifically. I think if you can learn how to be a storyteller, there's a great book called Story Brand. I highly recommend it, just in general for life, around telling stories, and it helps a lot in interviews. If you can tell a story about a hackathon that you did and the problem that you faced and the terrible person on your team that you had to work around, and they had no empathy and they wanted it one way, and you helped calm everyone's nerves and ultimately get the product across the line and win the $5,000 bounty, that sticks with people. If you just say, well, I'm nice, I'm compassionate, I played soccer in high school, that's not a lot to work with. So think about telling and selling yourself in stories, and think about times where you won as a team and you had a key role in that, and also where there was some drama. People love drama. It sticks out in stories. So don't just tell a story or say, I worked on this team and we shipped a product. You need to show how you helped this team overcome a challenge to ultimately win. So I think in an interview, if you can convey that, you're going to be in great shape.
Thank you so much, Chris Daniels. That was so insightful and encouraging. I'm sure you're going to get a number of our folks in tonight's session who will approach you about these opportunities. I'd like to thank you and Robert Dean of FlexSpace for speaking with us. This is my round of applause to you guys. And we will see each other soon in this Miami tech ecosphere that we're all inhabiting now.
Definitely. Thank you so much, and congrats again, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay, so now for that was awesome and amazing. And now for the headlining events for this evening, we are going to proceed with. Let me see. Start sharing my screen. Okay. Okay, we're going to move forward with the presentation of tonight's final project. We're going to go in the order that you all agreed on last night. So just as a FYI, so first up, we're going to have Next Move, then Gig Hive, then Bark Pals, Stars Music, and Oaxaca Express. Okay, so Next Move, Taylor and Josh, are you ready?
We are. Yeah.
Taylor, you ready?
Okay, awesome. Awesome. I'm going to start sharing and take it away.
All right. I'm going to start sharing my screen right now. All right. Okay, so my name's Taylor. I worked with Josh on this project. It's called Next Move. I just want to make sure everyone can see my screen, correct?
Yep, I see it.
Okay, awesome. Just want to make sure before I start talking and no one can see it. But so this is our project. So basically, this app, it's called Next Move. It's about figuring out where you want to move. I moved to Florida about like a year and a half ago, and I know when I was trying to figure out where I wanted to move to next, because I really wanted to get out of Illinois, I would search on Google. I'd have like 50 different tabs open all the time. Each website, they didn't give me enough that I needed. I had my own spreadsheet that had its own separate tabs of all this information, and it was kind of a mess trying to figure out what city was best for me and whatnot. And so with this idea, we just wanted to consolidate all of that data into one platform. Basically, this is seamlessly integrating data into one thing, everything in one place. So you're not just searching everywhere across Google. But so it's an easy process. You see personalized locations, you can compare your favorites, and you can also make your own notes. So the technologies we use for this are the following: React.js, Python, vanilla CSS. We used an API to bring in our data for this website. And then wireframing.
So I'll go ahead and take over from here. We spread out our project into 3 different sprints, 2-week sprints, and we originally started with 3 partners. And so we had everything mapped out for who was going to do what, who's in charge of what, and then about a week and a half in, actually right at the end of the 2-week mark, we ended up losing someone. So it threw us off. We had to get away from the design work a little bit. But looking at the screen now, we started off with some simple homepage prototyping, going over different like color palettes, color theory, maybe some theming and some user interactions. And then we jumped away from that because once losing someone, we were like, okay, we got to mix this up a little bit, change our sprints around. And we ended up getting into 2 3-week sprints once we finished here. If you want to go to the next slide for me, and we'll go ahead and showcase the front homepage. So with the choices that we made, very small color theory, our app is very static, but we chose these colors because we wanted to draw attention to the middle of the page with a call to action button to get started, which you'll see in the app will bring you to the login page. In the next slide, we described our 3 simple steps on what we are, what we do, and what we offer. And then on the last part of the homepage, we just have a simple contact form, fill out your information. Once you have an account, you can fill out this form, but initially you cannot. So send us any feedback, let us know what you want added or anything like that. So from here, we'll go ahead and jump into the app, and I'll let Taylor start us off and show you guys the features and what we do.
All right, so here I'll just move through our app a little bit. So right here now we're on our home screen. Right away, if you're a new user, you can just click Get Started, and it takes you to login. But if you're a new user, you can switch it to sign up, and you can actually sign in and switch it to login. And then here we have our sidebar. If you want to get back out of this, we have our home page, explore, compare, notes, profile. So we want to go back to home. And then here you can, if you want to further explore the home page, you can click this little arrow. It brings you down to what you saw in one of our slides, describing in 3 simple steps how to navigate our website. And then we also, if you don't want to scroll all the way down to contact us, you can click this button. It brings you all the way down. All right, and then next you can go into Explore, and this is like the main part of the app where you can actually explore different states, destinations, different places you want to search data and figure out where you like best.
If I could jump in real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So on initial page load, all 50 states load. We didn't have time to integrate the city data because the API we were working with is just tons and tons of data. It is the census.gov, and for each individual state, there was about 4,000 pieces of data that we had to sift through. And so we actually had to restructure our data from our API calls to be able just to get the small little pieces that we wanted. So it'd take a lot longer to get all the different cities and the individual towns and break that down. But if you are not logged in, you will not get these hearts. But we still want you to be able to see the different data that we offer. So you want to see population, income. If we were to add some more data to this, you could see like crime rate. You could see what jobs are out there. They have that on there. And it's a lot of data. I'm not going to go into all that. But when you do sign in, you'll have the ability to favorite some stuff, and then a future addition was being able to add the notes, to take notes on all the different stuff. You know, hey, this one has a population this much, this has this income, whatever you want to put. So, sorry, go ahead.
No problem. Thanks for explaining that. And then, yeah, if you come to this page, you've already kind of gone through all of this. You know what state, place you want to search for. You can type in the search bar. Brings it up, New York. Boom. And then, yeah, how he's explaining about the hearts, favoriting. If you're not logged in, the hearts don't show up. But if you are signed in, they do show up, and you can actually favorite. So, for example, I want to favorite Arizona, and also a little module pops up. In a future implementation, we'll want more data to show when you click the pop-up. But basically, once you favorite it, you go into the compare, and these were already favorited previously, and now Arizona is also. And yeah, and that's basically our site. I don't know if you want to also include anything else that I missed, Josh, about the site, or if we should.
No, just wanted a sidebar. I'm sure you guys noticed on the side panel, if you want to go back, on the sidebar, we do have a notes page, and we have the profile. The notes not implemented yet. And the profile page, we just wanted to be able to allow users to like change username or change email, change password, that kind of stuff. But working with this API was such a pain in the ass, honestly. We had to restructure several times. We had to filter through all their tables. Again, sidebar, Florida alone, just going to their site, had around 4,000 pieces of individual data, ranging all the way from income down to like individual races who have this percentage of like insurance, and then it broke it down into like insurance stuff. So not able to get to what we wanted. We wanted the main feature, which was displaying the data and a couple pieces about each state. Okay. Which brings us back to our slides.
Yes.
You want to start us off there?
Yeah. All right. So, and I guess that kind of segues into what else we would like to implement in the future. Like Josh was explaining before, we definitely want to add more data. Right now, we just have cards about each separate state. We definitely want to add more major cities. Even further down the line, we could add smaller cities, towns, things like that, and then also add additional data, get more specific crime rates, school zones, things like that. We would like more user interaction, notes, like we showed, we have it on the sidebar, but we still need to implement that page. Profile updates, instead of just logging in, signing in, you can do more with your profile. You can actually click to your profile. Map interactivity, that would be a cool future implementation too.
They have a feature if I may, they have a feature on their website that when you do try to filter for that state, it pops up automatically the location, and then you can zoom in and it will change the information on those cards, or basically pull in different pieces of data depending on where you click. And then the auth methods. Yeah, wanted to implement a better authentication method. We are using JWTs. We have a couple band-aids on there just because there were some issues with this API where stuff wasn't loading, but we'll get to that in a second.
I guess that'll basically be the next thing that we do get to, is bugs and more bugs, things that we ran into.
Yeah.
But,
so,
yeah,
go ahead. You want to take it over? Do you want to take
it? Yeah, I can talk about it. Like Josh was explaining before, non-friendly API, it was kind of a hassle working with it. We ran into a lot of bugs trying to load it sometimes. Basically, yeah, loading was a bit of a nightmare with it. We had to, before there was a ton of data. And then basically, As we got closer to the presentation, we decided to put in caching because we didn't want to rely on this API. Sometimes it would show up our data, sometimes it wouldn't, and we would get an error message. So to make sure it didn't fail today, we did cache our data.
There's a backend caching system that if the page does not respond, it will load that cache, and then the data will still be there because what was it? The first time we had 3 specific states that were failing, and so it was causing the entire app to crash, and we didn't know why, and we thought it was on our end, but it wasn't. And then after that, we had loading just one state at a time was a problem. We don't know why. Like when we would click on one, do you remember the favoriting part?
Remember,
So we
yeah.
would click on a state, the data would show on the initial explore page, but then we'd click on it and we're like, wait, where did it go? And so we ended up just going with a caching method to load everything beforehand, just in case it did break down. And this is just the little scripting to write to a file, read it, but you can see on the top right-hand side, that is all the different data that's coming in, and we're only grabbing state name and median income. But again, the scalability part that we were talking about earlier is if we want to add more data, we just need to filter through this and grab what we need. More Band-Aids. More Band-Aids. We wanted to, or at some point we looked into having like protected routes, but that kind of goes against us allowing users to use the features without having to log in. So having protected routes is like, hey, you have to log in to use this, but we didn't want that. So we have a Band-Aid where, hey, this stuff is going to load. Once you log in, you can still use it, but a little bit more is going to load whenever you log in. So just slap some Band-Aids. And that's it for next move, if you guys have any questions.
Okay, so do we have any questions for next move? That was great, you guys. I like the aesthetic of the site. It was very like clean, and it really, like, especially your landing page, it made me feel like a person on an island. Like, where am I going? Well, not an island, a person in the middle of a desert. Where am I going? What literally is my next move? That was great.
Thank you.
Okay, and you have some folks in the chat said, awesome, looks dope.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, good job, guys.
Thanks, Rich.
Yep, awesome job.
Thanks, Jay.
Oh, and also, usually with these presentations, I know that our geeks are encouraged to, is there anyone that you want to thank or anybody that you want to give props or shouts out to? I know that you mentioned the challenges that you had with APIs and hooking that up. So
Shane, our instructor, 110%.
Yes,
I'm sure
definitely.
Taylor can vouch for it.
Yes, definitely one of the Shane. He helped us a lot.
Shane was a big help, especially with fixing some errors that we ran into with that API, because we would try to fix it on our own thinking, hey, we screwed something up. And like 2 or 3 days later, he would just jump in there and say, oh, it's not your fault. And so we'd spend a couple days banging our head against the wall just for him to say, no. So just keeping us level and helping us out through the whole thing was awesome.
yeah, we have another comment in the chat. It's a great project.
Thanks, Jonathan.
So besides the added features, where do you hope to take this? Like, are we going to see this in a pitch competition? What's the wish list next steps?
I know next step is definitely want to work on a little bit more. Like we were saying about what we kind of want to keep doing with it is add more data. I feel like we kind of came to crunch time, make sure we just have what we want to present. And I definitely want to add more to what we've built so far and then see where that takes us. I don't know if you have anything else to add to that, Josh.
Just to piggyback off what you said, we also feel like by adding a little bit more information that, like on those cards and being able to see the, all the different metrics from the state down to like a town, It wouldn't just be for individual users to find a place to move to, but we also feel that businesses could look at it very quickly. Like, hey, here's all 50 states, click on one, here's some cities and towns. Here's a ton of information right in front of you, and they can pick, where's our next spot going to be? Where are we going to build next? Where do we need to go? Where's our target audience really quickly? And that just comes down to how much data we can get on those cards and be able to show.
Understood. I like that this project germinated from a problem that needed to be solved. Like literally, you were trying to figure out where to move next. And I think that that's something, we're out of the pandemic where everyone came down here, but still at the same time, with everything that's changing in the country these days, I know that, I always have that conversation with my husband every year when it's hurricane season. Where are we going to move next? I mean, we always end up staying here, but I think just to be able to get into your site and play around with that, I would love to find out what the options would be for me, like, or even suggested options. If you could have something that could, if a user could put in, well, I like nice weather, low cost of living, and
Yep.
XYZ, so just a thought there. All right. Awesome job, guys. All righty. So if there's no other questions, we're going to move along. Thanks so much. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
All righty. So,
Thanks. Good job, Josh.
awesome. All righty. So next up, we have Gig Hive, Sean, John, Anthony, and Sierra. Are you ready?
Yes, we are.
All righty. So take it away.
All right. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. And okay. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming to the Geek Talks. Thanks for coming and watching Ray's projects. Great project so far. Our project is called Gig Hive. And what Gig Hive basically is, to start that off, is basically it's an app that lets people connect, artists connect, musical artists connect to venues, and venues to connect to musical artists. And by that I mean it can be difficult if you're, say, an indie musical artist to find where you're going to play next, find your crowd. And as a venue, it can be hard to find sometimes the right people or the right musician to bring in a crowd, to bring in more business for you. So with that in mind, we all came up with Gig Hive as a way to help bridge that gap and make things a little easier and build those connections. So a little bit about the team. I guess I'll start with myself. My name is Sean, and I got into coding really, I'm not going to lie, part of it was a financial thing. I mean, I come from a graphic design background. I did a little bit of HTML, CSS, like really minimal. I mean, before I came to this class, I didn't really know what a div was, and I would use that sometimes and see that and be kind of like second guessing when I had to use it, like what I was actually doing. I'm not really sure. So, really minimal. I didn't really have a lot of experience, but right now I'm working at an animal hospital, and while it's great, it's rewarding, working with animals. Wouldn't have my dog if I didn't work at the job. Doesn't pay well, and that's something that led me to look into coding, and really, I found that I enjoy doing it, and it's really cool seeing you put something together, work really hard on it, and when you click that run button and everything runs, everything starts working, and you actually built basically a machine that does what you wanted to, and a lot of times look cool. I think that's really neat. That's a big reason why I stuck with coding here. So that's it for me. I mean, the other members of our team, I'll let them take it away from there as far as introducing themselves.
I guess I'll go next. My name is Gene. I'm a musician as well. Well, this is one I really wanted to make this project because, I play sax and I sing, and a few times it was always hard to just find somewhere to play or wanted a certain audience to convey to. So I wanted to start this, and it was great. I started coding when I was 7 years old. I've always liked it because of always video games and anime I watched, and ever since then it just kind of just took off. It was a little slow, but that's why I decided to come in the boot camp and take off and take it really serious and, make it where I want it to be. And I came with this great team, and we came up with this game project, and yeah, see who's next.
Hi, my
How you
name
doing?
is Sierra. Oh, sorry, Anthony. You can
How
go
you go
first.
ahead.
Hi. My name is Sierra. I have a degree in dental hygiene. I discovered that it's not for me. You know, people need lessons in hygiene. So I decided that because it's not for me, I want to do something else with my future, and that's when I stumbled upon 4Geeks. And it really opened up a whole world, of technology. You really don't pay attention to it unless you're like in it. And there's so many different paths to choose from, so I decided that this is good for my future. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Anthony Gomez. I'm the last participant of the group. I've been coding since I had like 16 years old. When in high school, I was doing a associate's degree here like a year ago, but it was going too slow for me, so I decided to join this boot camp and came up with this great project with great teammates.
All right. Thank you, Anthony. So, as far as the process, what we did, let me go ahead and what we started with was trying to identify a general look, see how we want to lay out the website or the app, as it were. And what we came across was we started with a website called Whimsical, and we kind of just, storyboard our ideas out. Really, it was just a jumping point for us to start the project, kind of see what we needed and kind of identify the general look of things and just go from there. But, we have these things to show data, but we do want to have ways of receiving and changing that data, adding data if we needed to. So first things first is we needed a back end. And this was this was Anthony's baby. This is what he took this from the start. And anytime we had a problem with the API not working, and he was like, "Oh, I'll handle it. Let me just work on that." He took charge of that one. So as far as setting things up, I mean, Anthony, you were involved in the process there. So as far as setting up the back end, how'd that go?
Well, actually, I don't want to sound like cocky, but I believe that actually didn't have a lot of problems with the backend. I think I took the best way to approach them so I could fix them in a quick manner. I actually had more issues with the communicational part of the team, trying to understand what is that they wanted to do with the project, how they wanted it to look like. So that took me more time than actually fixing code. But other than that, the backend was a great experience for me. I think I appreciate it more than the front end. My artistic skills are not great, so I think the backend was just perfect for me.
And it worked out. Back end I wouldn't say is my strong suit, so I didn't mind too much letting Anthony take care of that. So, but we started with that, and once we got that information going, we went from there and started trying to figure out how we wanted to display that information and make it look nice. Mainly the technologies that we use for HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Bootstrap. I mean, I did a lot of the design work on the profile pages, as you will see, and Bootstrap all the way. You'll see it's a grid system, or it's laid out like a grid, and that's what Bootstrap is. So that was a big help, especially for me. React, of course, and for the backend, we used Python, SQL Alchemy, Flask. We used Postman for testing, and like I said, Whimsical for the storyboarding process. And full disclosure, I didn't put it on here, but coming up with the name of the app and the tagline, where music meets opportunity, I use ChatGPT for that. I'm not a marketing guy, so I'll let it do the heavy lifting on that end. Other APIs that we used was a big one was I wanted for venues to show where they are on a Google Maps. So we use the Google Maps API. There's also a part of that called the geocoding API. Uses HTTP to take either a latitude and longitude location or a full address, and change, if it's a full address, change it to latitude and longitude, or latitude and longitude, change it to a full address. So that was a big help in getting those maps set up. We used a couple different outside sources as well. Better React Carousel for image carousels under the main images, and for the genre selection that we do have on the main page. React Bootstrap, which kind of helped make it a little easier to use Bootstrap within React, and to add prompts and things like that. And React Lightbox, which was just how we displayed images, let you click on the images and zoom in on them so that so you can get them in more detail. Pretty basic there. So with that being said, I will go to our demo. And with that, here is our landing page. So like I said, thank you ChatGPT for that, where music meets opportunity. We have up here a couple of different genres where you would use to filter and look at different artists depending on what genre you wanted to look at. And of course, we have our artist and venue pages. So what you do is, as a user, you can sign up. You can have different accounts under your name. Say you're an artist that also has a place to play music. So you can have an account for your band and also an account for your venue, all under one username and email. That way you don't have to sign up a new account for each different thing you create, which, like Anthony said, we had a little bit of difficulty with the communication on that. But once we figured out what we wanted to do, it all made sense and it made it a lot easier. So let me go ahead and take a look at one of our profiles here. As you can see, we have the profile for Disturbed. Like I said, we do have our Lightbox here, lets you look at the different images for our artist. We also have our social links, which will, if we have a couple different options when you do add an account for adding social links, but if you don't have one, you simply wouldn't enter it and it would not show up here. So just what you have. We have right here, didn't get to fully implement it, but the idea is that there will be a calendar that shows for artists, for example, dates that they are playing, dates that are open that they are available to play if you are a venue looking for someone to play at your locale. We haven't fully implemented that, but that would be definitely a key feature because it'd be good for an artist who's looking for a place to play to know which places are available and not waste time calling around. So that's something we definitely want to make the process a lot easier. As you can see, there's a messaging portion here, but I cannot do that because I am not logged in. So let's go ahead and do that. I already have my own username and everything set up here. So let's make it real quick. Okay, I got scared for a second. I thought it was working, but we loaded. Okay. So now that I am signed in, what I'm going to do is going to take a look at the profile page. And this right here was all Gene. I mean, he made it look nice. I started it, but it was not looking like this. He made it a lot better than where I started it. So I definitely appreciate him doing it. And Gene, I'll let you take it away. Just let me know if you want me to click anywhere in particular, and I'll do that for you.
Yeah, this is my baby here. Just took a lot of React Bootstrap, React Lightbox a little bit, and playing code, back-end coding a little bit, because it was a lot hard just to get these cards sitting here, to get all that stuff, showing on the page properly. And if you click on some of the links too, it'll take you right to the profile of where you need to go. You kick it either one. Yeah. Same for all your artists and venues. So this is for if you are your own user and you have plenty of artists or venues that you own. This could be your hub to manage that, control that, and do what you need to. And you can also go and edit your profile and change it there. It'll show all things as your about info, and you can edit it how you want to as well.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add on that, Gene, or that really?
Yeah, you can also add, if you want to add some more right there, the venue artist, you have to sign up right there. Take you there.
And if I were to, there's a lot of fields to add in here, but we do have it working. If I were to fill all this out and add it, it would show up on the home page as one of the cards. So it does automatically create one. We don't currently have an image upload functionality, something we want to do in the future. But the way I do have it set up is if you were to add a user, we do have some placeholder images that show up with that. And something I was really happy to include with this project, I'm going to go to our venue pages to show you, is our maps functionality. I mean, I was really happy with getting this working. And I mean, I thought that our API was difficult to deal with, but after seeing Josh and Taylor's project, I'm glad that we didn't have like 4,000 pieces of information to deal with on that. I mean, it was pretty simple. Like I said, it just takes whatever address you put in when you're signing it up, and it will take that information and send it through to the Google Maps API, which will convert that to a latitude and longitude, which then can be used with this maps and place it right there. It was mostly pretty straightforward. Honestly, I was surprised at how easy it was to use. The main difficulties, like I said, was a couple different things where it was the way I was formatting it was causing problems. But another difficulty was trying to place that pin in the right spot, because when I first did it, it kind of was like out here, and then as I zoomed in, it kind of drifted to the right location. So making sure that was correct was a challenge. But once I got it working, I was really happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, same with the
Um,
comments.
Now and you can send a message, and it says send respectable street a message. That's the venue. You can go ahead and send one there. And I mean, it's very similar to the artist page. Like I said, we do want to have calendars here where you can show dates. You would send a message saying, "Oh, what about this? When I see it's available on your calendar, can I play there?" But yeah, that's the venues page for you. And of course, we do have favorites functionality, which was it's Sierra did here. So as you can see, this is where we have all of our favorites. And if you go ahead and exit them, they will disappear. And we don't have any. But that being said, it was a fun project. It was difficult. There's definitely some times we were banging our head against the wall. And you know what? Let me go ahead. With that being said, let me go ahead and go to our challenges. And yes, like Anthony said, one thing that was difficult was having communication as far as what a user was. Meaning that, like I said, I at first thought that you'd sign up as a user, you'd be like you're signing up as an artist or a venue, and that's your account. If you also had a venue or another band that you played in, you'd have to sign up another account. And I mean, that made sense enough to me, but looking back on it, it makes a lot more sense the way we did it, where you can have multiple venues or artists, whatever you need under one account. And that's, one login that you have to remember. So it makes things a lot easier. But we weren't all on the same page at first. There'd be some times where the teacher, Rick, would come and ask us, "Oh, where are you at with this project?" Like, we talk about different problems we have. And then the question would come up from Rick, like, "What is a user? What are you trying to do here?" And then we'd be like, not really sure. We'd all be on different pages. So that was a little bit of a hurdle. But once we got past it, it was, mostly smooth sailing. There's every once in a while, there's a couple little glitches there, a couple bugs to deal with, but I think that was a big hurdle that we had to overcome. Sierra also joined us part way through the project, but to be honest with her, because right away she was like, "What do you guys need? What needs to get done?" And she was right on it, So props to her for doing that. She meshed really well with the team, and no complaints here.
So yes, I joined like partway through, and there was a little bit of cons, just going in, thrown with three people who already know what they're doing, what's going on. Having them, they're so nice. They got me on the same page quickly, so that's a pro. It was also a pro because I didn't have to deal with them not knowing where they wanted to go. Like when I got in there, they know what they wanted, they know what it wanted to look like. They just have a really good connection where they can get stuff done, and they're just really friendly with each other, so that's a pro right there. Okay, Sean, take it away.
Thank you, Sierra. And I mean, another issue was like I said, making sure new APIs and other installed components work correctly, especially when installing other components. Like, for example, the Better React carousel, which shows those scrolling images, which are the main profile images or those genres. If we install the component like that and say maybe didn't mention it to the rest of the group, it might show up that they go onto our branch or start working on it, and we're getting a bunch of errors and not really sure why. But then it turns out it's because somebody installed something and they didn't mention it. I've done it, so I'm guilty of that. But that's something that you definitely want to have, again, strong communication. Make sure that any sort of changes are done. You communicate it with the groups. That way, everybody is on the same page. It's really important. But any difficulties that we ran into with getting these APIs or other installed components to work, I mean, Google is your friend, really. Sometimes it might be difficult because when you research something, it may be the answer you're looking for, but in a framework you're not familiar with. I ran into that a lot. But if you keep digging, you keep trying out different things, it works out, and that's how you learn. I mean, that's definitely how I learned a lot of things on this. With images, it may look like we have images, a way of uploading them, but I kind of cheated a bit. I'm not going to lie. In the back end, SQL won't let you do arrays, which would be an easy way for us to list images. So I kind of cheated it. I put in a bunch of URLs through the back end, and I separated them with a comma. And then I used a split method to split those up and make an array out of it. And I used that kind of like the URLs for the different images. We don't exactly have a way for you to, like upload image and upload your file and do it. Nobody uploads to Instagram by putting a URL in for an image. I mean, that would be a pain in the butt. Nobody wants to do that. But we do get it to look the way we want it to, and I think that's a future thing that we want to implement. Definitely is image uploading. With that being said, things that we want to implement for the future. Again, a fully functional calendar component I think is really important. Being able to see what dates are available and what dates are needed is, a key feature of making this app or making those connections a lot easier to make. The full list of genres and filters for different types of music. I mean, the genres that we do have on the page right now, bit of an issue with use state and hooks because it's supposed to render all of the artists right away, and then when you click on those genres, it filters it out by those. But for some reason, when I use those, it makes, when you first load the page, nothing show up until you click on something to filter it by, and that's not exactly the way we want things to work. So ironing out that sort of kink right there, definitely something we want to do. And other types of filters, like distance filters, how far away from your ideal location a place is, filters by how much they charge. Some places will charge for you to play there, or how much they pay you. You might be having something in mind. So being able to narrow your results down by what exactly you need is something we definitely want to have. A fully functional messaging component. Definitely want to be able to send messages and view those messages easily and be able to reply to any sort of query that somebody might ask you. An artist portfolio and a way for venues to show events that they have done, almost like a resume, if you will, for artists and venues to show things that they have done, so that way somebody can get a good idea of whether or not a venue or an artist is a good fit for them. And another idea is, a lot of people hate Ticketmaster, so maybe we could get our get our foot in the door as far as that goes, and have a way for people to purchase tickets for events directly from our site would be a great thing to implement. And like I said, image upload functionality would be key, and I would offer the profile pictures. If you noticed, when we were looking at our own profile, we just had the little placeholder with the guy with the little crown on there. So we definitely want to have it to where you can upload your own images easily. And Sierra brought this up, and I never thought of it, but fully implementing a star rating system, but also like a top picks feature. The thing that comes to mind for me is like with Kickstarter, where they say like projects we love, things like that, or let's say Amazon's top choice, like things, a way to highlight different artists or venues would be a great way to do it. Would be a great way to show top picks in the area. And I mean, in the future, maybe if we want to monetize that, we could always have it, go the Elon route and have it, if someone pays us for, I don't know, a premium membership or something, they might be more likely to be viewed in that top picks section. So, but with that being said, I just want to say thank you to all you guys for your time. Thank you for our two speakers for sharing their knowledge with us. And of course, thanks to Rick, Christian, the mentors, 4Geeks Academy for, teaching us and helping us when we have all the major headaches that come with learning code, because it's not always easy. But, and I definitely want to thank my team. You guys have been great to work with, and I think we did a great job.
You did a fantastic job.
Rick, I would just like to thank you. You put up with my harassment. I also would like to thank Sean, Jean, and Anthony for allowing me to join them. I think we all came together. You guys are I know you're going to do great, and your futures are limitless.
Thank you, Sierra.
It was a pleasure working with you guys.
All righty. So that was Gig Hive. You got a couple of comments in the chat.
Yeah, questions.
Someone had the comment. We love third-party APIs, right? And someone else, I hate Ticketmaster.
I'm lucky
and their
that it wasn't
fees.
like yours. I'm lucky that it wasn't like yours, Josh, because I mean, I just had to work with like 2 pieces of information, 2 or 3, not 4,000. So I'm thankful for that.
And we made our own, even though it was a little tough kind of using it sometimes, but yeah.
Yeah, another comment. Cool idea and project, guys.
Thank you.
I do like that one of the things that you brought up early on in your presentation was exactly what Chris Daniels of the Shrimp Society mentioned, which was you had 4 disparate, well, at first 3 disparate folks, right? And then Sierra joined in, was the 4th person like that made this vehicle go, right? So even though you might have had your issues with communication, I mean, that's just a taste of what you might encounter in the future. So at least you have this safe space where you are able to, work things out. You have your instructors there, your mentors there to help you out with that. But, in a way, with all the, the bumps and things that you have on the road, you guys came up with a really cool project, and it really helped solve a problem, which I appreciate. So, really good job, guys. Good job.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So any other questions for, oh no, go ahead. Say that.
I don't know. I was just hoping to make it a big thing in the future because I definitely want to take this far and, make it better than Ticketmaster, like, what some friends say. But yeah, if anybody have any questions, comments.
So I take it that we will be seeing this at some type of pitch competition. Is that what I'm hearing?
Hey, I was joking there when we were first working on this project, saying we'd take it on Shark Tank and make $1 million. So, hey, who knows? Maybe that's not so much of a joke, huh? Now that we're at the end of the project.
Hey, like Chris Daniel said, I mean, they do have that incubator program. There also is in the general ecosystem of Miami, Venture Miami. Every Thursday they have meetups where people who they're either founders or software developers or people who want to invest in something, anything, they're there. So I definitely invite you to go out there and see if you can make this happen. And that's with all the projects. Also, too, you had a comment from Robert Dean, the first speaker today. He said, thanks for having him today. He had to run, but the projects look great. So kudos to you guys and for Next Move. All right. Any other questions? You can always throw them in the chat. In the meantime, we're going to move along to Bark Pals. Jay and Rich, are you guys ready?
I am.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Let me go
All
ahead
right,
and share.
take it away.
All right. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right, can you guys see? Hello? Testing once.
Yeah,
Okay.
Oh, wait.
All right.
Maybe it's loading up.
Okay. I'm going to avoid using my camera because I don't want to be a victim of Comcast. Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing anything quite yet, but maybe it's just a window that. Okay, there you go.
Okay, it's loading now. Yeah,
Yep.
my internet is terrible, so I have low bandwidth. So hopefully that doesn't translate to my energy now. All right. All right. So we are Bark Pals. Okay, and we were part of PT46 here in Miami. So it was nice to see Josh and Taylor again. Awesome job, guys. We are a team of 2. I am originally from New Jersey, and I've been here about 10 years. I'm a combat veteran, and I currently work at the airport, but that's not my dream. My dream is to get into coding. The reason why that became a dream is because after I got hurt in the military, I was working in the training room with my unit, and that was because I had a very unique skill that no one else had. All right, and that skill for an infantry grunt was I could type. So so they put me to work on the company website, in just basic HTML, and I fell in love with it. I'm like, wow, this is kind of cool, and here we are, and that's what got me here. And I will allow my cohort to introduce himself. Rich.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rich Akers. I apologize, my camera isn't working. So I am also a New Jersey native and moved down to Florida about a year and a half ago. And from there, I kind of wanted to make a career change from doing a lot of like mechanical work and a lot of like labor strenuous work into, IT and software development. The pay is obviously the motivator, but then also to be able to create something, that you always see and always think of, to actually be able to make that real is definitely another motivator also. So here we go. The idea actually came from once I moved down here. I have a pet. His name is Apollo. He's a dog. He's a very, very social dog. And he likes to go out and play with other dogs. So the purpose of this application is to provide a platform for dog lovers and owners to meet and trade, their contact information, set up play dates, meet people in the area. If you have a new puppy or if you're new to the area, to kind of just get your pet out there and socialize, and then, you as well. With this, we used front end and back end. It's definitely a full stack website. CSS, React, our Google API used to, to sign in. We have Python and JavaScript also. And the React carousel wrapper, we have that in there too.
All right. At this point, let me show the actual application that we built. Can you still hear me? Hello?
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay.
Loud and
All right,
clear.
great. All right, perfect. All right. So here is our application. All right. One of the things that I actually took a lot of time to do, and there's still a lot more that I want to do, was the actual CSS. I fell in love with CSS. If you guys need any kind of help with it, talk to Valerie. She is excellent with it. One thing I kind of want to show here that I'm kind of proud of, it's kind of silly, but it took me a long time to figure this out. You see the 4Geeks the thing here from the template. So with 4Geeks, they came from a previous company called Breathe Code, right? And it's still kind of in the place there somewhere. So to pay kind of like a little bit, respect and the homage, to Breathe Code, I made this so that when you mouse over it, it looks like it's breathing. So there you go. And that will take you, of course, to the 4Geeks, the logo or the website. So once you get into the site, we got the home button here, and then the join the community and login. For the login here, what we did is we implemented a the Google the sign in the API. The other gentleman, Chris, he had mentioned the OAuth one, and I got really excited because I'm like, well, you know what? That's something that we used. That's something that I learned, and I know how to do this now. So what's interesting is that every time that we reload the server, we have to add in the new the URL. So every time I do that, it's there. So for a future project, we would actually have a real server where it's just where it logs in and not the actual thing that you get from a Gitpod. So once you log in, the actual API works and it takes you right to the profile page right here. And I will pass this off to Rich to talk about the profile page.
Yeah, so this is your profile page. So we definitely had some time constraints, some challenges and stuff we'll talk about later. But basically, here's the idea. The focal point in the center is going to be people in your area, people with dogs. It'll have some of their information, maybe what their dog, likes to do. If your dog likes to swim or play Frisbee, and you'll kind of search around and find similar things that you and your pets, like to do. And then you click on them and go ahead and learn to contact them. On the left-hand side also, the calendar, another future implementation that we want to do is to where you can set up, your play date, schedule your play date and have the reminder there for the weekend. And, today's Monday, but I want to meet up with, whoever on the weekend on Saturday. So you go ahead and schedule it. A reminder pops up, say Thursday, Friday, and then you go and enjoy your play date on Saturday. Also under that, one of the biggest things I would really love to put on this website is, the Google API. We were having trouble. It turned out to be a lot. And like I said, the time restraints, it was kind of just focus on what we can to get, something here to show you guys. But to use the Google API to find like local dog parks, maybe some vets, dog friendly hotels, dog friendly restaurants, things like that. And then all the way on the left-hand side, it's kind of like a notepad, and then it'll turn into like a message center. If you want to share recipes, dog-friendly recipes, if you want to leave like a review or something about a dog park or an experience you had, or anything, of those sorts, you could leave it. That's where you would put it out, and it would save there for, the next time. So you'd always have it.
Yep, and that just takes us to our contact page. And on this one here, we spent a lot of time with the CSS on this. Everything that you see here is all CSS. So our logo is of a dog, with red glasses on, and I found one on the internet that just happens to be a dog with red glasses. So I had to use them. It was like, okay, this is a match made in heaven. This guy's going into the project. So with the CSS here, we made it so that when a user clicks on the actual box here, the space holder actually comes down, and it kind of gravitates down, and the user can put the name in here, the email, and then the actual message that they want to send. You have to look kind of closely, but if you hover over the actual send button and press it, you see that it forms a little shadow there. That's something else that we worked pretty hard on, to get that going, to make it look kind of nice. And I believe, let me go back to the slideshow. So challenges. So one of the biggest challenges that we had was time. The more time that passed by, the more we both were like, wow, you know what, that would be a great feature that we can add in. And then we would do a little bit more work, and like, wow, you know what, this would be another great feature that we could add in. And the ideas just kept coming and kept coming, and we realized, you know what, if this was a full-time job for the both of us, or if we could find, a collaborator or an entrepreneur or something, I think that we could launch this. And another challenge that we had was we lost a team member. A team member very early on. He, just kind of stopped like coming. We don't know what happened to him. He just kind of vanished. So a lot of the, the map API that we wanted to include, that was something that he was going to work on, but that's why we couldn't get it in.
Yeah.
I also had jury duty for 3 weeks. If you ever have jury duty in South Florida, do whatever you can to get out of it, because it is mind-bogglingly terrible. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to do that. So next steps. One thing I noticed on all your projects, and I was looking close at all of your projects, was that all of you had the icon, the favicon that comes with the actual template, the boilerplate, which is the logo for 4Geeks. I tried my darndest to find where to fix that, all right? But it is simply, I think it's hard-coded, okay? Because I looked in, I looked everywhere, the public folder, the folder down here, everywhere, and I even put in our own icon, but it wouldn't accept it here, and it just kept, the 4Geeks logo. So in talking to some of the mentors, I kind of figured out, that must be hard-coded in there. So that's a challenge that I want to figure out on my own. If you know where it is, don't tell me. I want to figure it out on my own. All right. So that is something that we'll do. And then, of course, for developers, myself and Rich, we will be working with Valentina and Geek Force and make contact with Chris and Dean and everybody else and see what we can do. As far as for the future, something that we can do is we can do some collaboration with other applications like Uber. What if we do have a user that has a play date with another dog, but they can't get to the local dog park? Well, Can we set something up with Uber, where the Uber driver can pick up a pet owner and the pet
Yeah.
I think that'd be pretty amazing. And of course, the co-working space, the lab, the pitch nights, and definitely the hackathons. I'm sold on hackathons. I want to do as many of those as we possibly can.
Yeah, definitely hackathons. And why I'm, just thinking about it too, like another nice addition is, while you're finding people in the area, maybe make like, a Google Meet scenario on there too, so you can kind of meet face to face first, before, you're just going and meeting, almost a stranger, I guess,
Exactly. Yeah. And then, another idea that we kind of came up with was, what if, once this is launched, if we can develop a whole pet community where the pet owner can get vouchers to, say, like pet shops, or to vets, or pet grooming services. I mean, there's so much that we can do with this. We just need that time and some kind of funding to make this happen. We got some special thanks, some folks that really helped us out. We'll go right down the list here. We have Israel that was just instrumental in
Yeah, I gotta say, I mean, I don't know if Alejandro is still here, but I mean, this whole list of people were great, but Israel, I mean, there was multiple times where I would, hit or message Israel, last minute, and he was just getting home from work, and he would hop right on the computer and help me like a half hour or 45 minutes before class. I mean, that guy he's dedicated to this. He really, really helped. Him, Ernesto, and Renee. If it wasn't for them, all my projects I have completed, it wouldn't be done without them, for sure.
Yeah, I gotta say also that when I contacted him about the sign-in API, he had never done one either. So me and Israel, we figured it out together at the same time, and we're like, wow, okay, cool. We're now experts at the Google sign-in API, and you think it's something really simple because you see it pretty much on every single page. In fact, it's on GitHub. You can use it to log into 4Geeks, and now it's on our site. And it seems like a little simple thing. It's a throwaway, but man, it is complicated, but it was fun to learn, I do also want to make a shout out to Valerie. She's a